Hello and welcome to week 2 in research methods here, and off we go. Chapter 2 has to do with ethical guidelines, learning about the history, but also the procedures that we use to make sure that our experiments and our studies are being done in an ethical manner. You will see in the content that some of this relates to World War II and the Nuremberg trials of the Nazis and the experiments that they did. And what we get from that sort of story and subsequent stories, as with many things, policies are built upon the mistakes or the horrendous things that people did. And we want to make sure those are not done again. So ethics is responsive to society's expectations for responsive to things that people do that then may raise questions, and like maybe we need to have a little bit of ethics clarified on this particular issue. So, in the discussion, I ask a simple question. We have ethics for human beings. Why do we have them for animals? If animals are not as conscious as we are, there's probably animal lovers here, so you're going to have a field day with that particular statement. But go ahead and let's discuss why we need ethical standards with animals. The second, in the quiz, I'm posing a study, and these are some of the questions that you are going to actually need to answer on your own study when you develop your code of ethics and the methods that go along with it. So let me go through each of these 4 questions. I posed the question of a cell phone study in a classroom. And the first question, how would you go about obtaining informed consent? This is a procedural, and I know it's not a philosophical one. It is, what steps will you take? Will you have everybody raise their hand? Will you have them sign a document? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for how you would actually go about ensuring that every individual in that classroom, you have consent, informed consent. How are you going to do that? The next is to sit back and look at this study and say, what are the potential risks? It's vital for you to be able to do this. And this is imaginative. It can be as far out as you can think. What are the potential risks here? Gathering those together and writing about what are those potential risks, because we want to accommodate for them in our informed consent, at least address them so the individual is aware of the potential risks. In the third one, how do we reduce coercion? Now, here you're taking into consideration, particularly in this example, that I'm the teacher in the room. I want to do study on my own students. There's a dual relationship going on. I'm their teacher, but I'm also the researcher. How could that create a situation in which people will be willing to participate in the study because they perceive that might make them get a good grade? You can see there's already sort of like this coercion potential that's going on. That how could I reduce that creatively? How could I make that happen so there's no coercion? The second one is looking at that particular experiment. One of the ways that we protect the subjects is by making them anonymous. So the data that we get, we can't connect, we don't know who it came from. Come up with a procedure as to how you would do that. You will need to do these 4 things for your own study. So this is a practice run on a given study for something that we're going to be doing throughout the rest of the class regarding your study. So you have to develop a procedure for how you're going to obtain consent for this to study, not yours. For this quiz, I'm looking at the classroom cell phone study. How are you going to collect consent? What are the potential risks? how are you going to avoid coercion, and how can you make data collection anonymous? So creatively coming up with those things. Now, you'll see that the due dates for the special assignments relating to your study are staggered. So last week we talked about, kind of the introduction to things, and now this week, the assignment of the review of your proposal is due. Now keep in mind that I've moved this to a template-based thing, and each one of the rubrics is different. It's measuring different things. So make sure you cover those things and follow the rubric, because I'm going to be focusing the grading on those things. And also keep in mind that I'm working this to mastery. By the end of the grading cycle for this coming assignment, for the proposal, your title page will be done. It'll be finished. You won't have to worry about that for the rest of the class, because I'm going to get nitpicky about your title page. So those are the things that are being focused on in this first assignment. This week, we're talking about informed consent, and next week, the actual document that you're going to include in your appendix, that it's basically the form that outlines the informed consent for your study, is going to be what's due. And that's going to be put in the addendum of that same document as you're making your way through. Now remember, for your own record keeping, it's important to, once you get that final version of the proposal, this week's, keep a copy of that, make a copy, and then use that copy to create your next assignment. So you have a record of each assignment individually. Probably the best way to keep your records going, and making sure you have everything that you need. Okay, so the mastery part's going to be part of that. So if there's anything wrong, I'm going to leave suggestions. I'm going to mark up the paper itself. I have tools within Brightspace to do that. And you have to redo the assignment. And you have to redo the assignment before the other one is due. Because the other one has to have, like the next assignment, has to have all the previous assignment expectations perfect. So you can't be still working on the first one and then submit the second one, because that second one is not going to be perfect yet. So make sure this is a fast process, and I'll try and do the grade. My effort's going to be to grade them right when they come in. Starting this week is sort of the starting of the grading cycle, and then as soon as they come in, I'll send them back out to you, and then that's it for the week. Okay, so that's it for this week. Have a great week, and enjoy the weather. It seems to be really nice today. And I will see you next time, so take care.